Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, or you find a way to lose. So look, Canelo, it is what it is. Don't have any jokes to make. Canelo's chasing greatness. You had to commend him for that. For the man to go up at 175. I did a couple videos on what I actually think went wrong. You know, it was a cherry pick. And when I say cherry pick, I'm not calling Bivol a cherry at all. I think with Canelo and Hearn, Canelo's team, they looked at all the light heavyweight champions and determined, for whatever reason, that Bivol was the weakest one. I strongly believe they looked at the fact that Bivol hadn't knocked out his last 6 opponents and therefore concluded that Canelo will be able to get into the ring, not have to worry about getting knocked out, and be able to impose his will, his counterpunching style, overwhelm Bivol, and get the win, in particular by knockout. That's not what happened. But when you look at, so I think we need to praise Canelo, okay? I can sit here and talk about the cherry picking of what he's done to help build his legacy, but at the same time, the man's only 5'8", and doesn't matter his agenda, doesn't matter his strategy for trying to build his legacy, doesn't matter if we agree with it or not. Extremely outmatched, outgunned, but he took a shot, okay? You miss 100% of shots you don't make. And he took a shot, and now he knows, okay, I didn't win. The problem with Canelo is he thinks that he won that fight. He feels like he lost 4 or 5 rounds, but he won the fight. And this is where you're going to see him take the rematch and probably get beaten to retirement. Canelo's been fighting for a very, very, very long time. Since he's been 15 years old, he's been professional. And a matter of fact, he had 10 professional fights before they started recording his fights, because in Mexico and the places that he was fighting, they have poor record keeping. So where you see Canelo, I don't know, what does he have, like, 60 fights, 50-something fights? Whatever the number of fighters Canelo has, add 10 more on top of that. That's really what Canelo has. And that's per Eddie Reynoso and his dad, El Chepo. And they have no reason to lie. So Canelo has a lot of wear and tear on that body. Sparring, training, since he's been 15 years old fighting professionals. A lot of wear and tear. But he's chosen to pursue greatness by moving up weight divisions. But he's not the only one who's done it, okay? The reason I'm making this video because I got into a back and forth with somebody. See, I'm extremely busy over here with family. But when I get 5 minutes, I make the most of my time. So I manage my time effectively. But at 5 minutes, when everyone's busy, I may get on my phone and just kind of read a few articles or look at what's going on in some of these chats. And for about 3 of those 5 minutes, I went back and forth with this clown who was saying no one ever has tried to do what Canelo's trying to do. And that, I didn't like that, because obviously he must be a casual boxing fan, or he's just one of those Canelo bandwagonists who has blinders on and doesn't want to award credit to other boxers who came way before Canelo's time, and some who are just a few years removed from Canelo. It doesn't want to give them the credit they deserve. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some fighters that I think everyone here should know, in case you didn't know about what some of them have done. So you look at Roy Jones Jr. I don't see how a person, if we're going to praise Canelo, say he's the best boxer ever, and he's doing all these amazing things. He's stepping outside of his comfort zone. He wants to be handicapped by going up to these weights where he really shouldn't be. But he's that dominant of a fighter to where he's going to be able to go up and do it. Canelo can go out here and beat light heavyweights, beat Usyk, beat AJ, go in the river, wrestle a crocodile. You know, there's nothing these Canelo fans, when it comes to these Canelo fans, there's nothing Canelo can't do. He doesn't have to pay taxes. He can beat the government at their own game. Like, hold your horses. Like, just, it's time to stop. But he is trying something. But if we're going to give him the credit for trying to be great and moving up weight classes and getting out of his comfort zone, well, then you got to take a look at Roy Jones Jr., what that man was able to do. Roy moved up. It's five different weight divisions. Okay? So if Roy was able to do it, but Roy didn't get the praise that Canelo's getting. And to me, that's a little frustrating because I don't understand how you can not praise Roy Jones Jr. for what he did. And when I hear people talk about Roy Jones Jr. had no skill, he was solely athleticism, let me tell you, athleticism can get you far. Athleticism doesn't get you to be a middleweight, super middleweight, cruiserweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight champion. Maybe somewhere along the line there's some skill had to come into play. So it's very unfortunate that a guy like Roy Jones, who went and clipped people in 5 different weight divisions. Yeah, okay, talking about, well, you know, we're talking about undisputed Canelo, super middleweight's undisputed. Right. Okay, great. But that doesn't eclipse what Roy Jones was able to do and be very effective and dominate. Okay? What Canelo's doing is to be commended, but he definitely didn't dominate anything last night. He got a wake-up call. And he's definitely not going to dominate again. So Roy Jones Jr. is someone who, if we're going to talk about how Canelo's chasing greatness and hold him in such high regard, you got to do the same thing for Roy Jones. Then De La Hoya, 4 different weight divisions. I don't know if you guys remember De La Hoya, man. An absolute monster. De La Hoya started boxing. That left hand has always been special. It's like, it's almost like a video game, and you're able to go in and adjust the power and, you know, in your character, and you decide to equip the De La Hoya character with this super special feature in his left hand to where anything he touches, it explodes. And that's the main reason why De La Hoya, in my opinion, that left hand carried him up and down those 4 weight divisions. That left hand was something special. Absolutely something special. And De La Hoya was praised a lot of his career for his accomplishments. He was. But I think you tend to forget about these guys who did what you see some of the current fighters are trying to do. You tend to forget about them, but I think we need to remember that they make it seem like Canelo's the only one who's tried to leapfrog weight divisions and win championships. Now, I think he's the first one with the goal on trying to become undisputed in 3-4 weight divisions. Like, this man is trying to get every single belt out of 3 or 4 weight divisions. Now, that's a pretty big deal. He will never achieve that because there's some killers in some of these weight divisions that he has to fight and he doesn't want to fight them. Okay, so it is what it is. Then you have Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard may be the best comparison in regards to what Canelo is trying to do and as far as what Sugar Ray Leonard did. Okay? Canelo, he was doing a lot of catch weights. Time Floyd came along. A lot of catch weights. Because he had outgrown that 15-year-old body. But he was still trying to get big fights with big names. But I don't think Canelo has ever won a welterweight championship. And this is where you got to look at, what's his name? Sugar Ray Leonard. And look at Canelo. Sugar Ray Leonard, titles held. He held a title as a welterweight champion. I don't think Canelo's ever done that. He went on to win junior middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight. Okay, so 5 different weight divisions. 5 different weight divisions for Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, he's before a lot of our time, but we should all know who he is. Him, Hagler, Hearns, Duran. Whenever you hear one of those names mentioned, you hear the other 3, the 4 horsemen. But with Canelo moving up and down weights, you can't sit here and say that he's the greatest of all time. If that's the case, then Sugar Ray Leonard is. Because Canelo's not getting the job done, and he's not going to. And it's because Canelo is a talented fighter, but he's not a boxer. He's not a guy that's dancing around the ring, using his footwork to get in and out. He is a guy that's going to come, pop shot you, wear you down mentally, cut the ring off, use his defense, because he has pretty good defense with his upper body, but his legs really serve no purpose. Canelo's feet are too heavy because he's trying to sit and set his feet. That's what he's doing. He's sitting and setting and then exploding. And he's not going to be able to do that with everybody, as he found out last night. But when you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, his feet weren't heavy. Sugar Ray Leonard had speed, he had power, he used his legs, he used his upper body movement. Sugar Ray Leonard was just special. And you watch those fights with him, especially his speed, his reflexes, just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. The middle of the day and I need my coffee already. So again, right there, I think we just need to stop with the talk about Canelo being so super special for what he's trying to do. It's great, but when you start to really think about others who have done it, it's not so unheard of. Okay, he's not in this exclusive category as a trendsetter and someone who's trying to do something different. But the fact he was trying to become undisputed in several weight divisions, those are pretty lofty goals. And lofty goals are uncommon for common people. But lofty goals are common for those who are uncommon. And Canelo's proven to be a common person, a common fighter. That's not a bad thing, because has one style and that's it. When you think about boxers, right? Miguel Cotto, feet pretty heavy. He can sit, set, and explode. But then he showed you he can box, get light on his feet. Absolutely amazing to see a fighter transition from being the aggressor to being the light-footed boxer. Canelo cannot do that. And even Miguel Cotto, he's not on this list. He's moved up several weight divisions as well. I think he's three weight divisions. So you have to give him credit too. So as far as what Canelo's trying to do, Sugar Ray Leonard he's already done what Canelo set out to do last night. But Canelo's ultimate goal is becoming undisputed. And none of these guys have done that in multiple weight divisions. Okay. Then you have a guy like Adrian Broner, 4 weight divisions. Think what you want about him, he's done it. Okay. He's probably the most like Canelo as far as the opponents he picked to do it against. But it doesn't matter. He did it. Just like Canelo. He beat some champions. It is what it is. We're not here to talk about whether they were cherry picks or not. We're just talking about what was accomplished. So Broner did it already. Okay? Then Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao. That's a whole nother level of greatness. And Sugar Ray Leonard. And even De La Hoya. But when you think about Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, De La Hoya, and there are going to be other fighters, so don't come here in my comments saying, oh, you didn't mention this guy. Right, I'm just trying to pick some names that I think the majority of people should be familiar with. But Mayweather is another one where you got to look at and say, this man, 5 different weight divisions, you got to give him his respect. And you can't come and talk about how Canelo's doing something so great. Well, look at what Floyd did. And I'm going to tell you this, right? And I'll say this, and I think most would agree. Floyd Mayweather, if he wanted to, could have been undisputed at 130, 135, 140, 147, and 154. If he wanted to. He just had time for all them titles and all that paying sanctioning fees and all that crap. But if he was a guy, if that was his goal, no problem. 160, I think he could do that 162 because he's that good of a boxer and his defense was so spot on and his reflexes were unheard of. So really, Floyd could have been a 5 or 6 weight division unified, undisputed champion if he wanted to. But that's not what he wanted because he wasn't going to pay all those fees just to say I'm a champion of a certain organization. Then you come now and look at Manny Pacquiao, right? Manny Pacquiao, 8 different weight divisions. And then Amanda Serrano, 7. But look what Pacquiao did. Now, he didn't go on to become undisputed in any weight division, but he became champion. He won a lot of titles. But, so again, you talk about greatness and you talk about someone being the best boxer ever and you can't come now and decide to pigeonhole Canelo and say he's the only one. He's not. Now, his goal to win that undisputed distinction in multiple weight divisions, I don't think I heard anybody say that before. But I do think I heard Floyd say if he wanted to, he could have. This is years ago. There's no article. I can't remember the interview, but I remember him talking about the belts and the money he had to pay, and that's why he didn't care. He'd win a belt, okay, thank you, then he would just give it up, let other people fight for it. But he didn't care to be seen as a champion because everyone knew that Floyd really is the champion from really 147 to 154. Floyd was the man. Everyone knew that. So we just had to be fair, man, and respect the guys who came before us, before Canelo. And Canelo doesn't, when he talks, he's not disrespectful of any of the guys who came before him. But I just think the fans and the media sometimes, man, are a bit uneducated and don't award credit to fighters who decided to retire. Like, give them their credit. Give Floyd his credit. Give Pacquiao his credit. Even AB, he's still around, but give him his credit for what he did. Roy Jones, De La Hoya, and Sugar Ray Leonard. And there are others. So, like I said, don't rake me over the coals in the comments because I did mention someone who is on your radar, just not on mine right now. And the number one guy on here, to me, more importantly than anyone else, I just want to underscore, if we're going to talk about how Canelo is so phenomenal because he jumped up to a weight division that he shouldn't have been at and he lost, but if anything, that makes him even greater because he really went up there and he did his best against a killer like Bivol, right? If we're going to speak so positively about him and nobody wants to make jokes about him and make memes about him because it's Canelo and he was fighting at 175, right? If we're going to say that for him doing that was a heroic effort, it just shows how his DNA is made up. If we're going to speak so positively, so encouraging about Canelo, you better speak that way about Amir Khan. Because Amir Khan, that man don't fear nothing. And the same way Amir Khan, jumping weight divisions and fighting catch weights. And Amir Khan, man, that fella, Amir Khan, I keep making jokes about crocodiles. Amir Khan, no kidding, would get in there. Just himself, his 2 hands, and his belief in God. And he would get in there and wrestle crocodiles. And I think Amir Khan would fare pretty well until one of them got a hold of his ass, And then Amir Khan would be on the menu. But Amir Khan just did not fear anything. And that's why he went in there with Canelo and he got clipped. And I get it, Amir Khan's chinny, and I understand how the jokes and stuff could result from how when he gets hurt, how his body just loses control. But if we're gonna say Canelo is so great and so brave and he's setting the example and he's good for the company and all this other crap, you damn well better say it about Amir Khan. Because Amir Khan, whatever, Chinny or whatever, that man did not care about nobody's weight. If there's a challenge out there, he wasn't running from it. And Amir Khan will fight you. And probably 8 times out of 10, Amir Khan wins. But like I said, again, there are thresholds. And, you know, it just had that lapse in judgment, let that hand down. And, you know, and the rest is history. So anyway, that being said, I like Canelo. I really do. But I just think when he starts talking about fighting Usyk and going up to heavyweight, my man, you haven't even done anything really at 175. How you look? You haven't done anything at cruiserweight. How you talking about going up to heavyweight? Sugar Ray Leonard, he did things at those other weights before he went up to light heavyweight. Roy Jones Jr. did things at every weight below heavyweight. Not every weight, but you know, like middleweight up. And dominated. And worked his way up incrementally. Got busy at light heavyweight, got busy at cruiserweight, and then went out there and did what he did at heavyweight. So Canelo just got ahead of himself. And it is what it is. Doesn't mean Canelo's not a solid fighter. He is. And he deserves a lot of credit, but he doesn't deserve to get more credit than these other fighters who've already been there, done that. If Canelo is able to bounce back and get an undisputed distinction at 3 different weight classes, well, then we're talking about something. But right now, he's done nothing. Other people have become undisputed champions in weight classes. If he can get it in 2, outstanding. 3, amazing. But right now, he's done nothing that would warrant the type of praise that he's receiving. If people, stop it, man. Stop it. I'm not, and don't take my video wrong. I am not trying to take away or detract from the man's accomplishments. All I'm saying is he hasn't quite earned the type of rewards where people are trying to give this man when and someone pointed it out, he doesn't have a signature win on his record. And when the person said that, I was like, well, you know what, he has Triple G, but he lost those 2 fights to me. And I got to give, I can't remember who put that comment, but that's the reality of it. Anyone who wants to disagree with what I'm saying right now, what is Canelo's signature win? What's his signature win? Right? And while you're thinking about that, I'm about to be in the breeze, man. So you guys like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all the veterans. You guys process that. What's Canelo's signature win? While you're doing that, I'm going to go get something to eat. I'm in the breeze.